Kirsten on the right in the second row.
Hey, Andrew. People are going to watch the series and obviously for the baseball, but see a big economic disparity between you guys and Milwaukee. I'm just curious from a front office perspective, what have you seen from how Milwaukee has built their rosters over not just this year, the last couple of years that have made them a perennial postseason contender?
Yeah. Brewers are a really good team. Team speed, defense. They don't chase, put the ball in play. They do a lot of things well. And I think the depth of their roster really helps them withstand 162 games and also puts them in position to be a really competitive team in October. So, yeah, I've known Matt Arnold for a long time. I think what him and his team have done is incredible. Not surprising. But just the attention to detail, the way the roster fits together, it's really impressive.
Kirsten, second row.
Obviously, the Brewers got the best of the Dodgers during the regular season. As you guys just kind of went back and looked at or reflected on those matchups and those series, what did you see that maybe posed to be the biggest challenge for the Dodgers? And when you go into this matchup today, how different is the team today, just considering you were without, whether it was Blake Snell, some others?
Yeah, we're just looking to win a game against them. Going 0-6 in the regular season, and we earned it. We deserved it. They pitched really well against us. We didn't have our typical kind of approach and game plan. They got us off that a little bit, which is helpful to have lived through and seen. We also weren't at full, months wasn't in there. And but, again, they're a really good team and a really good pitching staff. So I think those 6 games and going through it and being able to post-mortem and look at that, I think will be helpful going forward. But, again, their pitching staff is really good, and coming off a series against a really good pitching staff, runs are going to be at a premium. Fortunately for us, we feel like our pitching staff's really good as well.
Let's go up to Steve in the third row.
You had talked about your background with Matt Arnold and how you weren't really surprised he's been able to do what he has here. Just from your time together in Tampa Bay, what did you kind of see in him that made you confident in his ability to do what he's been able to do here?
Yeah, he's a great evaluator. He was in the middle of a lot of things that we did and had success with the Rays. Really good evaluator, really creative, incredibly hardworking, curious, and just watching him continue to grow and develop has been fun to watch. Less fun those 6 games that we couldn't win against him this year. But he's really talented and he's got a good staff around him. And just looking at the different moves they've made over the years, it's helped put him in this position.
Let's go to Mike in the front.
You already had very good rotation pieces going into free agency last winter. What made you say, hey, you know what, I think we need Blake Snell too?
Yeah, known Blake for a long time, and just getting a chance to watch that maturation over, a 12-year period and seeing that growth. We felt really strongly that not only could he help us in the regular season and accomplishing that first goal, but what he would bring to our staff in October. Everyone wants to pitch in October. I think for some, it is literally a part of their identity and what they yearn for more than anything, and I think Blake is one of those guys. And so in talking to him early in the offseason or even over the years, that part was clear, and I think just, he loves those moments and, just betting on the pitcher, the head, how much he cares was something that he was number one target for us this offseason.
Let's go up to the far right to Bill and then Jesse.
Andrew, I'm curious, when you and your staff did your research over the winter about why it was so hard to repeat and what you needed to be wary of coming into the season, what played out the way you thought and what played out differently?
I haven't really had a chance to kind of think through the 25 season, living it day to day, but not really being able to like rise above it to really assess. Living it, there were definitely some challenging moments. How much of that was residue of that or just the peaks and valleys that happened over the course of 162 games? I mean, we talked about a lot this offseason that two potential pitfalls that we felt really good about. One was how our guys are wired and that complacency wasn't going to be something that would set in, like them being focused on and driven by legacy and doing something that is so incredibly difficult. And the second was usually if you're the last team standing at the end of October, you've used a lot of your pitching very aggressively throughout the month to do it. And we didn't really have that. Now our bullpen did, but didn't have it in the conventional way. And so adding some fresh arms, we thought would be helpful with that. But the kind of day-to-day stuff, I haven't had a chance to kind of reflect back on yet.
Jesse?
Andrew, just following up on Matt Arnold and the Brewers, just to drill down, if you can, for an extended run like they're on that you had in Tampa, what's like the most important thing or two when you don't have payroll that you have to get right to make it through 7-8 years of making the playoffs?
Yeah, I think every market, every situation has its own unique challenges, and I think knowing who you are and what you need to do to have success, and it's different for every market, but staying true to who you are, having a group that works really well together. I think collaboration throughout departments is critical. Because you have to do it in a less conventional way. And I think identifying and leaning into the strengths and the advantages that you do have. I used to give this analogy, but when I was with the Rays, I was able to, if you think about a doctor, we were able to be knee specialists and know every single thing about the knee. We didn't have to worry about any other part of the body. And I came to the Dodgers like, oh my God, I have to learn everything about the body. And so in different situations, it's knowing who you are, what your advantages are, and attacking that. And I think they've done that exceptionally well.
Anthony, down in front.
How do you think Kershaw has handled, a role that he's obviously not used to throughout his career, and now still being part of this in a best-of-7 series? Where do you think he can provide value for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that the outing he had against the Phillies, it had been kind of a long period of time between throwing, and it's a different role. He would never make that excuse, but it was very uncharacteristic command from him, which you think of command and you think of Clayton Kershaw. And so I think him having experienced that will be helpful. His mindset all along has been, I want to do whatever I can to help us win. And he has embodied that. And I would bet on him to be a part of helping us win this series.
Go up to the third
Andrew.
row.
Dave touched upon it a little bit, but could you walk us through the decision to add Ben Kasparias to the roster when there's guys like Enriquez, Kopech, or even Kyle Hurt maybe that were staying hot? And what his role would be, sorry.
Ben obviously was big for us this year. It gotten off track a little bit. And so we sit him down and challenged him with what to work on, and he did. And, you can go one of two ways when those moments happen, and he chose the path of attacking exactly what we'd kind of laid out for him and put himself in a really good spot. And so going through this lineup and what we felt like, we had a lot of what we felt like were good choices, but felt like Ben was the right one for us.
We'll finish up at Jack, far right, third row.
Did you come out of the DS with any sort of concern level moving forward with Shohei offensively, given how he looked last series? And I know moving him back in the rotation is more about lining up guys on rest, but because he's not having to pitch one of these first 2 games, do you think that just helps that he can concentrate just on hitting here this week?
I think the biggest thing is the stuff that the Phillies threw at us obviously was really good, but even beyond that, I thought the execution was as good as it can possibly be. And so I think the combination of those things lining up, look, if a pitcher who has really good stuff executes at an A-plus level, hitters aren't going to hit. Hitting is way too difficult. It's about hitting mistakes more than not, and they executed it on him at an elite rate. And so could some swing decisions help and, potentially get a mistake? For sure. But I think it was the most impressive execution against a hitter I've ever seen.
All right, Andrew, appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.